or thermal limit. So you can jack up the power to the machine substantially. I think you can get at least a factor of 2, maybe a factor of 4 or 5 improvement on top of that. So I think there's a fairly straightforward series of steps to get somewhere in excess of an order of magnitude improvement in the cost per mile. Our target actually is, we've got a pet snail called Gary. This is from Gary the snail from South Park. I mean, sorry, SpongeBob SquarePants. So Gary is capable currently he's capable of going 14 times faster than a tunnel boring machine. Okay.
You want to beat Gary?
We want to beat Gary. Yeah. He's not a patient little fellow, and we want that will be victory. Victory is beating the snail.
But a lot of people dreaming about future cities, they imagine that actually the solution is sort of flying cars, drones, etc. You go above ground. Why isn't that a better solution? You save all that tunneling cost.
Right. I'm in favor of flying things. Obviously, I do rockets, so I like things that fly. This is not some inherent bias against flying things, but there is a challenge with flying cars in that they'll be quite noisy. The wind force generated will be very high. Let's just say that if something's flying over your head, if there are a whole bunch of flying cars going all over the place, that is not an anxiety-reducing situation. You don't think to yourself, well, I feel better about today. You're thinking, like, did they service their hubcap? Or is it going to come off and guillotine me as they're flying past?
And so you've got this vision then, future cities with these rich 3D networks of tunnels underneath. Is there a tie-in here with Hyperloop? Could you apply these tunnels to use for this Hyperloop idea you released a few years ago?
Yeah, so we've been sort of puttering around with the Hyperloop stuff for a while. We built a Hyperloop test track adjacent to SpaceX just for a student competition to encourage innovative ideas in transport. It actually ends up being the biggest vacuum chamber in the world after the Large Hadron Collider by volume. So it was sort of quite fun to do that, but it was kind of a hobby thing. And then we think we might. So we developed a little pusher car to push the student pods, but we're going to try seeing how fast we can make the pusher go if it's not pushing something. Huh. So, I mean, like, sort of cautiously optimistic we'll be able to be faster than the world's fastest bullet train, even in a 0.8 mile stretch.
Whoa. Good brakes.
Yeah. I mean, it's either going to smash into tiny pieces or.
But you can picture then a Hyperloop in a tunnel,
yes,
running quite long distances.
Exactly. So in looking at tunneling technology, it turns out that in order to make a tunnel, you have to, in order to seal against the water table, you've got to typically design a tunnel wall to be a good to about 5 or 6 atmospheres. So to go to vacuum is only 1 atmosphere, or near vacuum. So actually, it sort of turns out that automatically, if you build a tunnel that is good enough to resist the water table, it is automatically capable of holding vacuum.
Huh.
So, yeah.
And so you can actually picture this, like what kind of length tunnel is in Elon's future to running Hyperloop?
Yeah, I think there's no real length limit. You could dig as much as you want. I think if you were to do something like a DC to New York Hyperloop, I think you'd probably want to go underground the entire way because it's a high density area. You're going under a lot of buildings and houses, and if you go deep enough, you cannot detect the tunnel. Sometimes people think, well, it's going to be pretty annoying to have a tunnel dug under my house. Like, if that tunnel is dug more than about 3 or 4 tunnel diameters beneath your house, you will not be able to detect it being dug at all. In fact, like if you're able to detect the tunnel, being Doug, whatever device you're using, you can get a lot of money for that device from the Israeli military, who's trying to detect tunnels from Hamas.